You're listening to Vancouver Co-op Radio, CFRO 100.5 FM. We're coming to you from the unceded traditional territory of the Salish, Musqueam, and Tsleil-Waututh Nations. I'm Bernadine Fox, and this is Both Sides Now. You're listening to Both Sides Now on Vancouver Co-op Radio, CFRO 100.5 FM. My name is Bernadine Fox, and I'm here today with Gabe, Jacob Ferman, and Mike Levin, both of whom are musicians and are here to talk about schizoaffective disorder. Gabe, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, for sure. So basically right now, as my job, I'm just working at Safeway, and my two main passions are skateboarding and music. I went to Vancouver Community College to study music for about a year and a half, and currently playing in two groups. One group's called Persian Spice Tuna, and another group with Mike, we're called Astronaut Socks. And yeah, I'm currently living in a group home with other people who suffer from mental illness, and yeah, that's about it.
Okay, and Mike, tell us about yourself.
Hi, yeah, I'm Mike Levin, and I play music and I also do art. So I'm a recent graduate of Emily Carr University, and I've been playing music with Gabe for about 3 years. But I've played music ever since I was a child, and I play clarinet and I sing a bit. So
great.
And I've been diagnosed with schizoaffective disorder since I was 30 years old, and I'm 52 now. So,
I'm sorry, I missed that. You were diagnosed when?
I was diagnosed when I was 30 years old.
Okay.
Schizoaffective disorder.
Right.
And I also had a disability before that point, but it was more to do with a seasonal affective disorder from about the time I was 19 until I was 30.
Right. Do you think those two go hand in hand?
I think they kind of do go hand in hand, but it actually there's many traumatic things that happened when I turned 30 that sort of changed the diagnosis, I guess.
Right. Okay. So we're going to talk about schizoaffective disorder, and the truth is that most people on the planet have no idea what schizoaffective disorder. They don't know what schizophrenia is. They have a lot of ideas that are probably given to them through popular culture and popular media. But those ideas are not necessarily accurate. It's like saying a diabetic is going to die if they don't get their insulin by 8 p.m. or something, which is just not true. So I want you guys to tell me being this person who really doesn't know anything about schizoaffective disorder, what is it? What do you experience? And forget the DSM, forget all the things, all the check marks you're supposed to get. Tell me what your day is like.
Well, currently, I don't have too many symptoms just because I am taking medication that is really helpful. But at first, when I started noticing it, I started seeing things a little bit. I started to see like almost like this TV static in the air, and I would see like glowing around people and trees and stuff. And I also I never had like a hearing voices, but I felt that like God or, some angels or the universe or whatever were trying to communicate with me. And yeah, I would just have very strange ideas about things. And like, I felt like I needed to go up to people and talk to them about this. I would feel this really strong urge to just go up to random people and talk to them about things of that nature.
Mm-hmm.
I also, before I was on the medication, I had really, really bad insomnia. And it got to the point where I got fired from jobs because, I would stay up, 5 days in a row or something with no sleep. And just, yeah, I had so much energy for some reason. And I felt like this sensation of bliss sometimes, but I would always come crashing down and feeling very depressed after. But during those times of bliss, I felt I would stay up and I would either write all night just about these kind of same topics about God and angels and what my role in the universe is, and these very strange kind of grandiose thoughts and stuff like that. So I would either be writing all night or exercising all night, and I would do that until the morning, and it's all sunny, and so I couldn't sleep then as well. And I remember I used to work at a restaurant called Noodle Box, and yeah, I didn't sleep for 5 days, I remember. And on that last fifth day, on the Friday, my shift, I just I tried cooking, and I just my brain just wasn't working, and I had like a panic attack and started crying and things. And yeah, I got fired because I couldn't do what I needed to do. And it took me quite a while to get on the right medication. So I had probably 4 to 5 jobs where just that same pattern occurred. I would work for a little bit, then have no sleep and have these strange thoughts coming in. And, I would either miss a shift or just couldn't do what I needed to do. So for about a year or possibly longer, I just kind of went through that same pattern of working and getting fired, working, getting fired, and until I finally got on the right medication.
And getting on the right medication isn't as simple as, here's a pill and you take it, and you that day, hey, this is going to work. Often these meds are like, they take 2 months perhaps for you to know whether or not they're actually going to work or to get up to a therapeutic dose. So every time you shift your meds, it takes time. Is that what you found with trying to find the right med?
Yeah, well, it was also very hard getting the right diagnosis, because at first I told them what was going on, and one doctor was just telling me that all I was having was like general anxiety and stuff. I felt like maybe I didn't explain myself properly or something, but he just said about all I was having was anxiety. And yeah, so they gave me some medication for that, and that didn't really do anything. And yeah, it was quite a process to get the right medication, because it basically got to one point where I was so low that I was feeling suicidal. And at that point, I went to the hospital, and so I got in to VGH for a while, where I was going to stay there for a few months. And while I was there, they did more experimenting with the medication. But yeah, because they were trying to find the right diagnosis and what medication suits that. And it was they experimented with some at first, and I remember they had me on this one medication where I couldn't chew properly, I couldn't see properly. And
was that Haldol?
No, it was called paliperidone. And so that one really didn't work. My body kind of rejected that one. And basically they just experimented with things, and until I was having better sleep and not having as many grandiose thoughts, and such insane mood swings. So once they got me on that, I stayed in the hospital for a while to just kind of stabilize and to help my mood and all that stuff. And I've been on that ever since. That's been about 3 years now. And I probably only had one night where I didn't sleep since then. So that's really been
hallelujah.
Like, exactly. Like it's saved me, really.
Yeah.
Because when you're not sleeping, it's just nearly impossible to do anything. So
yeah. Mike. Let's shift over to Mike.
Yeah.
Tell me what schizoaffective disorder feels like for you. What do you live with?
Well, for the first 4 years, it was actually really traumatic, and I'd hear voices, and they were like separate from my own entity.
Mhm.
They were they were not coming from within. They were coming from an external source. And when I was first diagnosed with schizoaffective disorder, um, I heard the voices 24 hours, 7 days a week, 365 days a
Oh
year
my
for about
Lord.
4 years without
Okay,
much.
so let me just ask a question, Mike. Maybe
Yeah,
a bad question. When
yeah,
you say an external source, and I hear Gabe talking about it too, using a lot of medical terms. I got called them medical terms. So
yeah.
disorder, what was the other
They're
one?
real. The thing is,
Yes.
the
Oh
disease
yeah, I know.
here
Yeah. So you're saying an
is
external
real.
source. Where did they come from? Where did you think they were coming from?
Well, I had paranoid thoughts, and I had things that, some traumatic events that all happened at the same time. And so
Hmm.
I thought it was government. I thought it had something to do with the government or something,
Right.
right?
Right.
Um,
Okay.
and it lasted for 4 years without much reprieve.
Did other people know you were experiencing this, or was this something you hid?
Yes, no, I think it was quite obvious, because I had erratic behavior, and I was acting weird, and looking back at it, I can see myself as being quite sick, but at the time, it didn't seem like I was sick. I thought it was real.
Right.
And
I
so
think. Oh,
I,
sorry. Go ahead.
I think a little bit of time and distance helps a lot to understand it more.
Hmm. Okay. So you were hearing voices for 4 years. How did you end up being diagnosed? If did
Um,
what happened?
I was hospitalized, and I was paranoid at the time. I was very paranoid, and I was living with a girlfriend at the time, and it just became so overwhelmingly difficult to be in that situation. She actually phoned it in,
Right.
and
So I'm going to stop you just for a second. Did you know you were paranoid, or did you, because these things were real for you? So were you
yeah,
able to say I'm paranoid, or were you able to say I'm afraid because these real things are happening to me?
I was more afraid that real things were happening. So
Yes. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Okay. So in hindsight, you're saying you were paranoid, but at the time,
it was
th-
all very real.
it
Yeah,
was all very real. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. So you ended up hospitalized, and is that where you ended up getting diagnosed?
That's right. And it didn't matter how much medication or how little medication I was on for the first 4 years. It remained that same level of voices and domineering and belittling and torturing
Mm.
voices, constantly invading my privacy, right? And that lasted for 4 years. But since then, my life has gradually gotten better to the point where in the last 10 years, 10 to 15 years, I have very few symptoms throughout the times of not being sick.
Hmm.
So I'll have like about every 2 or 3 years, I get sick and I recognize the signs enough, and I'm sick for about 2 months. And then I sort of get back into the community, and I work, and I have a girlfriend, and I have social life and all that kind of stuff. And things are really quite normal. So,
So am I hearing you that you're not taking any medication then? You have found a way to deal with this without
oh,
that?
no, 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 no. I
Oh,
have to
no,
take
no.
medication.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I take medication, but I always try and reduce it
Right.
to a manageable level.
So
Yeah.
what do you guys think was the thing that you had to get used to in this?
Um, I think, well, one, obviously just getting used to having to take the medication every day, but yeah, also just recognizing that there's probably always going to be like a bit of symptoms, right? I don't think it's ever going to be 100% free. Um, And I also think that people aren't ever going to 100% understand what you're going through, because it's just very hard for someone that, what doesn't have that experience. It's probably very hard to understand what that's actually like to go through.
Right.
So yeah, those are a couple of things I think I've had to accept. Also, just accepting that like I don't need to share 100% of what I'm going through. I can still have like healthy relationships with people without having to tell them that, because it's not. I try not to let it define me. It's a terrible thing, and it's a big part of my life and everything. But yeah, I try not to let it define me, because at the end of the day, I am just a human being like everyone else, and
absolutely,
I have my own life and everything too. So yeah,
we need to just stop for a few moments and take a little break, but don't go away, folks. We're going to come back and talk to Gabe and Mike a little bit more about a schizoaffective disorder.
Hey, did you know Red Eye has a podcast? You can tune in to Red Eye every Saturday morning from 10 a.m. to noon, and now you can catch our interviews anytime. Look for the Red Eye podcast on iTunes, TuneIn Radio, or a host of other podcast apps. Or you can check out our latest episode right on our website, coopradio.org/redeye.
Hi everyone, this is Bernadine Fox from Both Sides Now that airs on Vancouver Co-op Radio every Tuesday at 5 p.m. Vancouver Co-op Radio, CFRO 100.5 FM, is an innovative radio station that gives Both Sides Now an hour every week to unpack mental health. We stay on the air with donations from folks like you. So if you can donate, visit www.coopradio.org. That's www.coopradio, all one word, .org, and hit the donate button on the top right-hand side of the screen and follow the directions. Or you can mail your donation by check directly to 370 Columbia Street in Vancouver, BC, V4A 4J1. And then come join us at Both Sides Now here every Tuesday at 5 p.m. You're listening to Both Sides Now on Vancouver Co-op Radio, CFRO 100.5 FM. I'm Bernadine Fox, and today I'm chatting with Mike Levin and Gabe Jacob Ferman. Did I say that right, Gabe?
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
So I want to talk about what happens when you do disclose schizoaffective disorder or schizophrenia to the people around you? Mike, you told me a story of something that happened to you that was quite horrifying in Calgary. And I want to talk a little bit more about that, because I think that the most information we get about what schizophrenia is, paranoid schizophrenia, schizoaffective disorder, is from our popular culture. So it's what's written into a TV script or a movie, and that's where people get their information, and somehow they think that that is accurate. So what kinds of common things do you deal with when people do know that this is what you're challenged with in life?
I think, like, for the most part, the people that I have told is just my close friends, and so they're really great and really understanding, and they don't bother me about it. But I definitely, like, I feel like with people that you don't know very well, they're probably a little bit afraid of it, because they're so not educated about what it's really like, and they might label you for sure, like, oh, this person's just crazy or whatnot, which is, I think, a huge part of, like, popular culture and movies and all that. Like, they're just, they just think that, oh, you're crazy. Or
Don't you think that they're going to think you're going to kill them?
Yes, exactly.
Usually it's the murderer
maybe,
is,
Yeah.
has got some kind of mental health issue, and schizophrenia fits really good in there. And so does dissociative identities, and they wrap them up into these scripts. And,
yeah. And you hear these stories too on the news, right? About people like shooting up a place or whatnot. And it's like, oh, they were schizoaffective, or they had this mental problem or whatnot. So
right.
I think that probably plays a role as well.
But I think it's often like, I'd say, like, out of all, and I've met quite a few people who have this diagnosis. Most people are quite gentle.
Yeah.
Yes.
And quite the opposite of what's out there in the media.
Yeah.
And it's quite disconcerting, the fact that all that kind of discrimination is out there, because really, when it comes down to it, they're more apt, like, a person is more apt to do something to themselves, like to harm themselves, than to harm someone else. Really.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
And
yeah, I wish the writers of TV scripts and would understand that they are playing with people's lives when they bend diagnoses to fit the needs in their plot line, because it does cause quite a backlash for folks out here. Mike, do you feel like talking a little bit about what happened to you in Calgary?
Yeah, I can talk a little bit about that. I knew quite a few people on the University of Calgary campus, and when I was diagnosed, and I volunteered to go to the hospital because I tried to commit suicide, and I spent a month in there, and when I got out, I found that someone had leaked it onto campus that I had done this, and it was really quite discouraging, because I was ghosted.
Oh,
People shunned me, and like, I went back to school for the next semester, and people would just pretend they didn't see me, or look the other way, or and it was so disturbing for myself that at the end of it, I had grown up in Calgary, and at the end of that semester, I left Calgary and I came out here.
right.
I mean, I had relatives out here and stuff like that, but it was that disturbing, and that
Yeah.
it prompted me to leave.
Yeah. Yeah.
Why do you think they acted like that? Like, were they just afraid or something? Or
They were afraid, and they didn't understand it,
yeah.
And I think that was bottom line what was going on with most people, right? Is they just didn't understand it, and they were afraid.
And what did you learn from that? whole horrible experience? You went back into school
Yeah,
here? Did you tell people? Did you
I
share
learned
this or?
I, I learned that I didn't want it really known while I was going to school that I had any sort of mental health disability.
Right.
But at the same time, I have a lot of good friends, and they all
Mhm.
know that I have this
Right.
disability, right? So
Right.
it was sort of like a dichotomy between two different worlds.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So both of you kind of hold space in your life for people where you don't tell them this, and you kind of live a life where there's a part of you that you aren't going to share because of the stigma that you experience when you do.
Yeah, totally.
Completely.
When I got chronic fatigue, I got all these people giving me suggestions on how to be okay. So I'd get told to, how to do sleep hygiene and
Yeah.
how to eat more vegetables. Somebody actually said I needed to eat more vegetables, and I'm wondering, do people do that with you folks? Do you get suggestions like that?
Sort of. I had oh, did you want to say something, Mike?
Well, no. You go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, okay. I don't know. I was hanging out with a friend. He's not really a close friend, so I did tell him that I had schizoaffective, and he tried to just tell me that I don't have it, and that he was like, my dad had it, and he was way worse than you. And I'm just thinking, like, who are you to tell me that, right? Like,
Right.
how could you say that? And
Why
um,
do you suppose he did say it? Do you have any?
um, I mean, maybe he just saw more crazy behavior from someone else, and so in comparison, that
Right.
I wasn't acting like that because that's maybe all he knew. So maybe he thought that like all people that have it act that way, and because I wasn't, that I don't fit under that. And yeah, I mean, I've had really dumb suggestions. Like I've had people tell me that like, oh, you should just take like psychedelic mushrooms, like or whatever, that'll help you.
Yeah,
Like
like in microdoses of psychedelic mushrooms or something that
yeah, and
Right.
that's like in the literature, it's like that's like the worst thing to do for someone
Right.
that's experiencing that. Like it just aggravates their symptoms more, and so
Yeah, I would imagine it
um,
would.
I've had really dumb suggestions like that, and I try to not let them bother me. Like I'm just like I just don't do that, and yeah, I don't know. I think that's part of why I don't share as much as well because it's just I don't know. It's just it's silly and
Mm-hmm.
it's not helpful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, no, no. What would you like psychiatrists and psychologists to know about schizoaffective disorder that you think that maybe they don't know?
um, that parts of it is real, you know,
Mm-hmm.
um, and that it's not all made up, um, or it's not all an invention of ours, our mind, and some of it is, some aspects are real. Like sometimes something in the community will trigger me, or set me off in a way that it's a real thing that's going on, right?
Yeah.
But it's just then afterwards that I'll start spinning out of control
Right.
and work into my psyche and become something different, right? But the initial is actually often quite,
Right. That's interesting, Mike.
yeah.
Because one of the things that I have a really hard time coping with as a person is when there's somebody gossiping behind your back. And because this is
Exactly.
a
Oh,
very typical form of bullying by women, it happens a lot. And we're not really dealing with it as a
yeah.
society. But then what happens is people start treating you differently. And if you're somebody who doesn't pick up on those things, it probably wouldn't bother you. But I pick up on those things and it really bothers me. And
Yeah.
I think if I was also having, somebody who had how do I want to a tendency to move towards something that is more paranoid, that very real thing that I'm experiencing would take off in that direction very easily, like very easily.
That's right.
Yeah.
Is that what you're
Yeah.
talking about, Mike?
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah. And to have somebody say to you,
Right.
that's not real and all of it isn't real, isn't helpful at all. I
Oh
don't
yeah.
think.
Exactly.
Okay. So that's one thing, that some parts of it are real. Is there anything else you want psychologists or psychiatrists to work with? You guys work with
I work
psychologists?
with a psychiatrist. That's
With it,
correct.
with just psychiatrists?
I think they should realize that some of the medications don't work, and that they're. I mean, like, for instance, like I was on this one medication when I was in the hospital. It was olanzapine, and I gained 2 pounds a day for an entire month. So I gained 60 pounds in a month.
Oh my God.
And
Yeah, I gained weight too,
in a
actually.
hospital setting, they thought that that was normal, and that was okay for me to gain 60 pounds in a month from 140 to 200 pounds in a month's time. And that was like somehow, well, okay, that's just a small problem with the medication, but that I should stay on it, right? And that's not okay.
No.
Yeah, I feel like I mean, I just like, I personally wish that some of the medications weren't as harmful, because a lot of them have really bad side effects, and that is one of the things as well. Is the weight gain, right? Like I also gained a ton of weight. Like I was when I was in the hospital, I was like 160 pounds, and then by the time I left, I was 200 pounds as well. And
Oh my gosh.
yeah, so that's that's one thing. And another thing is the fatigue that the medication gives me. So I have a very hard time waking up in the morning. It is good because I had insomnia, but it's kind of like one extreme to the other, where I
Right.
have like very hard time waking up now because of that. So I don't know. I wish that just like, yeah, we had more medications that weren't as harmful,
And
because
I wish
there's
that they could also say that it's an experiment, because it is an experiment, and they're constantly getting better sometimes with medications, but it is still an experiment, and that's something that they don't talk about. They say, like, this is the
yeah,
best medication, like,
it's like this
always.
medication fits this symptom, so it's going to work for everyone, right? Like they definitely, that's not really the case. Like they have to try different things and see how you respond. So
Yeah, I
yeah, it
feel
would
like
be
all doctors
nice.
do that. Unless, once you
Yeah.
get beyond Tylenol and ibuprofen and those kind of baseline
Yeah.
medications, I feel like sometimes you go into a doctor and you say blah blah blah, and they go, "Oh, well, try this," and they give you a prescription and off you go. They don't say, if it doesn't work, come back,
No.
because I think they're afraid if it doesn't work, they're not going to know if it was the meds or because you somehow made it up in your head that it didn't work. I don't know,
Yeah.
understand it, but I know that there have been times where I finally got good at going back and saying this medication didn't work, that I started to
Yeah,
realize
totally.
that it is an experiment, Mike. It's like,
Yeah.
it's like we'll try this, and if it doesn't work, then we'll try something else, and then we'll try something else, and it's
Yeah.
just a crapshoot with your body in the middle of
Yeah,
it, right?
totally.
Because it's you and your mind and your thinking that goes through all the side effects that happen with medications, and sometimes those side effects are really
Deadly.
do a
I
number on
mean,
you.
they have type 2 diabetes, cardiovascular disorder,
Wow.
and tardive dyskinesia. And people who don't know what tardive dyskinesia is, it's a medication-induced Parkinson's disorder that's
Right.
irreversible. So
Right.
Yeah, and the
these are all-
longer you're on medication, the more likely it is that you develop that.
And so is it
Yeah.
Parkinson-like or is it
it's
Parkinson's?
it's like Parkinson's, but it's
Okay.
called tardive dyskinesia, because
Right.
it's like a medication-induced Parkinson's
Right.
disorder.
And do you know how many meds actually cause that? Is it a common thing?
Mostly the dopamine receptor medications cause
Okay.
it. So
Yeah, I was put
Yeah.
on a medication that caused muscle spasms all over my body. And
That's
it,
God.
it
yeah.
was like weird just lying in bed feeling, my body twitch all over the place. And
Yeah, that's
I
terrible.
finally went off of it. I didn't take it for very long, but I have one muscle twitch, well, a couple, but the one that really bothers me is it's in my right hand and it's in my index finger. And it's in fact the finger that you need most when you draw or paint. And I draw and
Yeah,
paint. And
that's
so
Oh,
it's the one that bothers me the most. So
well, also a lot of the time you have to take like a ton of different medications, right? Because you have one medication which causes this side effect, and then you have to have another medication that helps that
right.
as well. So
Yes. Yeah.
yeah, I kind of have a big amount of different meds that I'm
Yeah.
on because of that. Yeah.
So we need to take a little break, but don't go away, guys. We're gonna be right back with Mike and Gabe and chat a little bit more about what it's like to live in this society with something like schizoaffective disorder. So don't go away.
Created by your First Nations Health Managers Association, we introduce InfoPoint, a convenient and accessible helpful desk for First Nations health managers looking for credible sources of information on COVID-19. Don't have time to dig? Talk to a real person now at 1-855-446-2719 or email infopoint@fnhma.ca. Indigenous Health Today is another resource of information by region at ihtoday.ca.
Leave them all behind. Everyone that hurt you. Leave them on the road. Let them get run over. Nobody can stop you. You were never broken. You were only hoping it would end. Keep your body well. Drinking lots of water. Always look ahead. Don't you wait for nothing. Nobody can stop you. You were never broken. You were only hoping for a friend. All they want is for
It's estimated that 1 in 2 Canadians will be diagnosed with cancer in their lifetime. For many, the physical, emotional, and financial burdens are heavy. The Volunteer Cancer Driver Society ensures they never have to worry about a ride to and from treatment, offering safe, reliable, and free transportation for all patients. Now they're expanding their service across the mainland, and they need more volunteer drivers to join their fleet. If you have a vehicle, a valid driver's license with at least 5 years of experience, and a passion for helping those in need, the Volunteer Cancer Driver Society would love to have you. Visit volunteercancerdrivers.ca to learn more.
You're listening to Both Sides Now on Vancouver Co-op Radio, CFRO 100.5 FM. I'm chatting with Mike, Levin, and Gabe Jacob Ferman.
There you go.
Mike, I know that you and I had a conversation not too long ago about the discrimination that people who are on PWD experience. And for people who don't know, PWD is an acronym for persons with disability, and it is a benefit that people can get here in the province of BC and probably in other provinces in Canada.
That's
When
right.
you are disabled, you qualify for a PWD. So it's kind of like social services, but it's not social services, and it runs a little different than that. But it also means certain things that are true. Somebody else that I was chatting with said that he went to apply for it and he was turned down because he was living with his girlfriend, and he was told that in fact his girlfriend would need to support him and because he didn't qualify because he was living with somebody. And she of course left I shouldn't say of course, but she did leave, and he lost a 3-year relationship because she wasn't ready to take that step. And I know, Mike, you went through something similar. Can you tell us what you went through just because you were on PWD?
Briefly, I've been in a relationship for 8 years now, and of course I'm on disability 2 status, which is a PWD 2 status through the ministry, and we were looking to live together, and she's in a co-op, and I was denied access because she would be considered I'd be considered her dependent, regardless of whether she works part-time or full-time.
Right.
And she works part-time, right? But I would be considered her dependent, and I would lose all my disability rights and all the access to the financial aspect of that, right?
Right.
So,
which is, when we get down to it, it is the thing that gives you some sense of dignity and some sense of, supporting yourself, even though it's a PWD issue. It's there because you live in Canada, because we take care of our own, because we provide all of those things. But they're saying that if you're in a relationship, you don't get it. And
yeah,
that's
exactly. So
where
it's really discriminatory, right?
Yeah.
Because, if I'm in a relationship, they're telling me that I can't be in a relationship. Right?
Yes.
If I am, I should just live by myself. But a place like Vancouver, where it's very expensive to rent anything by yourself, it makes it very difficult, right? So you're allowed to have a roommate, sure, but you're not allowed to have someone who's your partner.
Right.
With them, right?
So here you have the government particularly jumping in and imposing things on your long-term relationship.
Exactly.
And honestly, I don't know about you, but me, if it was me, I would begin to feel like that I could never have a relationship, that I would never want to be somebody's dependent.
Yeah. And I feel like that's really awful, just because, having a girlfriend or being in a relationship, I feel like it can help with some of the symptoms. It's really nice to have someone you can talk with. I feel like it should be almost the opposite, where they encourage it and instead of they just discourage it. And I don't know. I think they have it backwards almost.
Yeah.
I think
I
they have
agree.
it very backwards. Yeah.
And so that's just one of the ways. I think there is some kind of push to change that. I'm not sure. And I'm talking off the top of my head, having read something about a week and a half ago. Do you, when you get a job, do you feel, Gabe, that you have to disclose this?
I haven't. Because there is only a certain amount of money you're allowed to make when you're on PWD per year. And so I don't have like a great paying job anyways, and I'm not doing full time, so I haven't bothered to tell them just because I don't. Yeah, there's not really any point. But yeah, if I had like a really well paying job and wanted to do full time, like that, you can't even really do that. So
Exactly.
yeah, which is kind of ridiculous. But no, I haven't had to tell them about that yet.
Well, that's good.
Yeah. I think just because so many people are afraid and don't understand it, I think it would just be really good for people to educate themselves and try to be as understanding as possible, because I mean, what happened to Mike in Calgary, like that just sounds so awful that
It is.
It's not fair, because it's already hard enough living with one.
Yeah.
And you could make it easier for people that have that, or you could make it harder for them. So I think if you're understanding and educated, it can really help for sure.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks, guys.
No problem. My pleasure.
No, it was great. It was a great conversation to have. And thank you for putting up with my ignorant questions and my effusive curiosity. And it's helpful for folks to start getting a different perspective on schizoaffective than what we learn about in popular culture.
And I think it also helps people who are experiencing it, to know that there's other people out there that experience it and have dealt with various forms of discrimination and stuff like that. But there's also hope at the end of the tunnel, right?
There is, and there's life, and and there's lots of people out here who, aren't going to be weirded out by schizoaffective disorder or other mental health challenges. So thanks, Mike. Thanks, Gabe.
Thank you.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks, Bernadine.
And don't go away, folks. We'll be right back.
Tree Canada's national greening program is planting seedlings across 5 regions of the country: BC, Prairies, Ontario, Quebec, and Atlantic. They plant in areas that are in need of reforestation or afforestation across Canada. Tree Canada selects the appropriate planting sites along with the appropriate native tree species for each site to make sure that natural forests come back to life. To learn more or get involved, go to treecanada.ca.
I walk a lonely road, the only one that I have ever known. Don't know where it goes, but it's home to me, and I walk alone. I walk this empty street on the boulevard of broken dreams, where the city sleeps and I'm the only one, and I walk alone. this empty street on the boulevard of broken dreams, where the city sleeps and I'm the only one. And I walk up, my shadow's only one that walks beside me. My shallow heart's the only thing that's beating. Sometimes I wish someone up there will find me. Till then I walk alone.
This year, Co-op Radio turns 40. Here's one of our stories.
I got involved with Vancouver Cooperative Radio in 1989. I left my country because of due to political reasons. My activities in the university and as a student and as a musician in the arts, and I came to Canada with a music band, King Lalat, that was in exile. They were all also from my native country, Guatemala. When we came here, I mean, from the Latin American radio shows or newspapers, the Latin American media, they contacted us to do interviews and things like that. One of the shows that contacted us was America Latina al Día, which it is one of the oldest shows here on Vancouver Cooperative Radio. It started at the same time as Co-op Radio. I was a guest because of the music that I was playing. It was music that is committed to social justice. It's music in resistance. I went to the interview and I said, well, I like radio. I was coming from a radio and TV background as well back in my country. So I asked them if they needed any support because it was volunteer based, and while I was here on the tour with King Lalat, I started right away the following week, and it was obvious to me then what the mandate of Co-op Radio was. So it was a perfect match for me. I worked in community radio back in my country. I worked also in commercial radio as well, but my place is it's definitely in the community radio and radio that is not compromising with other things, but it is committed to social justice. So there wasn't a question for me. That's the place where I wanted to be.
Question authority, demand accountability. The job of the journalist is more important than ever. Democracy depends on a free press, and reliable, trustworthy reporting is at a premium. Speaking up for those who have long been silenced is what journalists do every day. At Langara, journalism students hit the ground running, reporting on issues in their communities right away, wherever they are around the world. This fall semester, instructions will be entirely online. That means students will be reporting on the issues that matter in the communities where they live. Wherever you are, whatever your beliefs, journalism has always been telling the stories that demand to be heard. We welcome your voice in the chorus for a change. langara.ca/journalism.
You're listening to Both Sides Now on Vancouver Co-op Radio, CFRO 100.5 FM. I'm Bernadine Fox, and that's our show for this week. My thanks to Mike Levin and Gabe Ferman for having this articulate and insightful conversation with me. They play music together under the name Astronaut Socks. The song you heard today was Lullaby in B minor. You can hear more of their music on SoundCloud. Also a shout out to Jan Arden, Green Day, and Sherry Ulrich for the gift of their music. But as always, my thanks goes out to you for joining us today. Stay safe out there. If you have questions or feedback about this program or want to share your story, or have something to say to us, we want to hear from you. You can reach us by email, bothsidesnow@coopradio.org, or via Twitter @BothSidesNowBC. This is Bernadine Fox. We'll be back next week. Until then.
I can't seem to find my way under or over or through. Just when I'm ready to give up the fight, there you are when we turn out the lights. And it's alright, it's alright. Don't you worry, it'll be alright. Why do I always believe it when you tell me everything's gonna be alright? Yeah. Why don't I wonder how you know? Well, surely you don't have all of the facts. You could be just making it up. Why don't I ever think of that? It's some kind of magic in the words that you breathe, saying, baby, take it from me. It's alright, it's alright. Don't you worry, it'll be alright. Why do I always believe it when you tell me everything's gonna be alright? Everything's gonna be alright. With anyone else, it's such a cliche, just words people say to be nice. Or somehow when they fall from your lips, I'm convinced you're right. When I'm weary and so tired, when I'm worn out and done, when I fall off the wire again, with no more strength to get back on, there you are with that voice in my ear, saying the words that I need to hear. It's alright, it's alright. Don't you worry, it'll be alright. Why do I always believe it when you tell me everything's gonna be alright? Oh, everything's gonna be alright.
My name is Ferman, and I am right now at 100.5 CFRO Co-op Radio, which has been in my life all of my musical life.
Learning to say